Hello friends, let us learn how to trace the corticospinal tract.
Now let us go and start tracing the tract. Here is the thalamus. Then we have the lentiform nucleus on both the sides, right? Then we have the midbrain. The midbrain continues to the pons. The pons continues as medulla. So if I look at the medulla, this is the pyramid and this are going to form my olive. Okay. Then this continues as the spinal cord. All right. So here I'm taking one single spinal cord and we are going to draw the horn cells. Our fibers, where are they originating? So this is my stoppage number 1. 40% of it is coming from primary motor and 30% of it is coming from premotor
Pre and
plus
supplementary
supplementary motor areas. How about the other 30%?
somatosis.
Yes, so that means here it's coming from sensory cortex, right? Please do not forget this part. Okay. Now these fibers, we call them as corona radiata. They are converging into the posterior limb of the internal capsule, right? This is what we have to remember. And the other thing that we have to remember here is whenever there is a damage to the internal capsule, if there is, artery supplying to this area gets occluded or there is a tumor in this area, the manifestation will be that the contralateral sides, there is going to be motor deficit. When it goes to the midbrain, so which is this structure? This is midbrain. This is my pons. This is the medulla. Now I'm going to take these fibers to the midbrain. Where exactly in the midbrain they go? They go to an area which is called as crus cerebri. So in the midbrain, this is a nuclei here, which we call as the superior colliculus. If you remember, we have the visuospinal reflex and spino-visual reflex. Here is where is the substantia nigra. There is a nuclei here and we call this the substantia nigra. And we all know that substantia nigra is the part of, it's one of the basal ganglia nuclei. And if there is a damage to this substantia nigra, it will manifest a disease called as Parkinson's disease. This part is called as tectum. So let me tell you, this part, the superior colliculi part of the midbrain, we call it as tectum. And behind the tectum, we call this part as tegmentum. Behind the substantia nigra, we find columns like this. These are called cerebral peduncles. And this is the part where my corticospinal tract is entering inside the midbrain. Crus cerebri. Okay. So that is how in the midbrain, the fibers are descending down. So what is happening to these fibers? When these fibers, they come near to the pontine nuclei, because from the pontine nuclei, we have the fibers which are originating and they are going to the cerebellum, right? These fibers, when they come near to these pontine nuclei, suppose you can think that you were going like a herd of people, a group of students are going. As you go, you suddenly find that in front of your college, there is a lot of traffic jam. So what will happen? You no longer can go as a group of fiber, right? You try to disperse yourself in between those traffic jam areas. You disperse yourself. So what is happening to these corticospinal tract fibers? As they reach to the pons, because of the pontine nucleus being present there, they just diversify themselves. Here they were coming like a compact bundle, very tight bundle. Now here they became little loose bundle and they are going to go through these pontine nuclei. And ultimately, they are going to reach to where? They are going to reach to the pyramidal area of the medulla. So it's something like this. These two are the pyramids. So here are the cerebellar peduncle, right? This is the medulla. So these fibers, which were coming down as the cortical fibers, when they were coming down, the cortical fibers form the pyramids. Now, that's why their name has come as pyramidal tract. This is where they come like this. So they have come to the pyramids of the medulla, the rostral part of the medulla. At this level, There is decussation. We call that as motor decussation. Decussation means crossing over. So how is this happening? That once they have reached to the pyramids, maximum of the fibers, around 80% of the fibers, they cross. Whereas 10% will go as uncrossed lateral corticospinal tract, and another 10% it is going to go as the anterior corticospinal tract. Let me show you in this diagram now. So what is happening? So maximum of the fibers, they have crossed over. Now this is called as the crossed fibers or crossed lateral corticospinal tract. And how many of them are there? The 80% of the fibers, they cross over. How about the rest of that fiber? Some of the fibers, they remain uncrossed, and now they are going to go as anterior corticospinal tract. Okay, so they are going to go to the anterior funiculus of your spinal cord. So this is the anterior part and this is the lateral part, right? So the lateral corticospinal tract, they are going to go down and they are the lateral column. Okay, so this is my lateral column. Uncrossed fiber, they will go to the anterior column. That 10% of the fibers, the lateral corticospinal fibers, they remain uncrossed and they go to the same side of it. Finally, they have to converge on whom? Finally, they have to converge on to my motor neurons. This is my motor neuron. Okay. And this motor neuron is supplying to my muscle. Let me come back here. There is few things that you have to know. The fibers which were coming from the Bedge cells, they will directly go to the anterior horn cell and they're going to stimulate. So let me magnify this part and show you. This is your lateral white column and this is the anterior white column, right? Then what has happened? That maximum of the fibers, maximum of the fibers, the crossed fibers, they came to the lateral side. And what do I have here? I have my alpha motor neurons, which are supplying to the muscle. The fibers which are arising from here itself, the fibers which have arisen from the cells of Bedge, they directly will go and synapse onto the alpha motor neuron. Whereas the other fibers, the rest of the fibers, what they are going to do? They are going to innervate an interneuron, and this interneuron or the internuncial cell in turn is going to synapse with my motor neuron. So this is how my lateral fibers are ultimately coming down to my final common pathway. How about the fibers which were ipsilateral? I mean to say about this, the lateral ones. So we had the fibers who came, uncrossed fibers which were coming to the lateral corticospinal tract. These are forming my 10%. The other fibers were coming to my anterior column and these are forming my anterior corticospinal tract. Now what will happen here is, whatever level they are, suppose this is my cervical level or the upper thoracic level and I want to supply to the upper limbs. So what will happen? These fibers, they cross over at the same level. They just cross over at the same level, right? And they go and synapse to the, they may give interneurons, and these interneurons are going to go and synapse over the alpha motor neuron. How about these fibers? They also will cross over and they'll form the interneurons and internuncial cells, and these internuncial cells are going to go to the alpha motor neuron. This is the journey of the corticospinal tract or the pyramidal tract. This was hand-drawn diagram. Now let me take you to a picture over here, which I will just maximize and we are going to revise. So here is where the fibers are originating, they are coming from different areas which are representing your body. Like the medial part is representing the leg area, then we have the hand area, then we have the head area or the face area. So fibers, they all are coming down here, then they are passing through the posterior limb of the internal capsule. So these are the lentiform nucleus. This is the thalamus. And in between the lentiform nucleus and the thalamus is present my internal capsule. So they are coming from there. Next, what is happening? These fibers, they go to the midbrain. In the midbrain, which part of it they are going to descend down? They are actually descending down through the crus cerebri. So please mind it. In the crus cerebri, they descend down through that. They descend down. Some of the fibers may go, they may cross over and they may go to the nuclear fibers for the cranial nerves. And we call this as corticonuclear fibers. And there is a term called as corticobulbar fibers. Okay. So these descending fibers, they may cross and they'll go and supply to the cranial nuclei. The one which is supplying to my spinal cord, they'll go down through the pons. Here are the pontine nuclei. So you see here, these fibers are compact as they are passing through the midbrain, but now they will spread over because they have to pass through the pontine nuclei. Now these fibers are ultimately going to converge back into they're going to cross over at the pyramid. So this is the pyramid of the medulla oblongata. So what do I find? These crossed fibers. So maximum of the fibers are going to cross over, and the crossed fibers, we call it as lateral corticospinal tract. Okay, 80% of the fibers, they cross over and they descend down as lateral corticospinal tract. So they go to the lateral columns of the spinal cord, and from there, they will give, they give the synapse to the alpha motor neurons, and which is going to go through the ventral horn side. Some of the uncrossed fibers, maybe they'll go as a lateral corticospinal fibers, which remain uncrossed. Some may go as the anterior corticospinal tract. Here is what I wanted to tell you one more thing, this part. This is to show you where exactly is the pyramid. Look at this. This is the pons. Up is the pons part. Okay. Here is the pyramid. These are the olives. Okay. And these, at the pyramids, there is pyramidal decussation.